I don't know. I think it's an Instagram to or iPhone to Android to maybe computer to Instagram. Kind of stinks sometimes, kind of
Get your
thing.
shit together.
I don't know how. I really don't. And I need to start this with an apology.
Why?
Yesterday, I had this brilliant, amazing idea, and I didn't get it here in time. And I ordered one of my, I always just wear black. It's what I do.
Yeah.
But I ordered one of these in pink for this live just for you. But I had the idea too late. And I was like, I actually threw something. I was like, you suck.
It's okay. I forgive you. I still love you.
Yeah. And my eyes are not nearly as glowy as they were for a ROM. So I owe you an apology on that one, too.
Well, that's a ROM, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean, real talk for the Real Coaches Summit. So let's just start this off. Everybody tuning in live is going to know who you are because you're a legend. For YouTube later, will you just tell people who you are, what you do, and then we're going to go sideways?
Hi, Jeff. Thank you. Before we go sideways, so yeah, I am known as the queen of men's health. So I basically coach dudes to be jacked and lean and optimal with their testosterone. And basically, I'm a little bit of a weirdo, and I apologize ahead of time if I offend anybody. But I was just told on another one of my posts that I need to go find my divine feminine. So I told the guy who said that, I said, I think I lost it in you.
Well, and to that guy's post, my faith means everything to me, and I freaking love who you are. So whatever that means, I'm freaking here for you. Because one of the things I love about you so much is that you are authentically yourself and you don't give a crap what other people think. I mean, we all do a little bit, but you are just you and you're unapologetically you. And I respect that. And I think one thing that people get so wrong is like, oh, we need to agree on everything. Like, no, we don't at all. Actually, that would be really boring. It's just, like really boring. And we're not here for it. So I do want to start this off. Like, what does letting go mean? You had a post the other day that talked about that I loved. Now I love all your posts, but that one was different, and I love it. And I want to show people a different side of you because we've become friends over the past, let's say, year. And
which side?
You
oh,
don't make me choose because I will choose. And yes, there's an implication here. Letter D every time. See what I did there?
All right. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had
No, go right ahead. You were talking about letting go and in your own way about when we make these healthy shifts, when we make these life changes, we're going to lose. It's going to offend people and it's going to trigger the crap out of them. And they're going to try to suck us back in. Will you talk about that just a little bit and what you meant and what you said in that post?
Yeah. So it's something that I've had to really coach guys up on in the last couple of years, just because I don't actually really know, but a lot of the times when somebody decides that they want to look a certain way, and now we all know in society, it's not normal anymore to have muscles, to want to live a healthy lifestyle. It's literally like you're an outlier. So there's so many times where, I go to airports or I'm just like in a public place and somebody comments on what I look like. They're like, oh, do you do CrossFit? Do you compete? Do you do this? Do you that? Even at my own gym, they're like, are you competing? And I'm like, no, I'm just living. Like, I like looking this way. I do have body dysmorphia and insecurities that make me feel like I have to look a certain way. But let's be honest, I think fitness professionals should look the part. And if you have a coach that does not look like you would want to look, or maybe does not exemplify the lifestyle that you're after, then I think that I personally think that that might be a little bit mismatched. So obviously there's uh, caveats with that if someone's going through a health issue and whatnot, whatever. But anyway, circling back. So a lot of people hang around friends who maybe are reflective of what their older lifestyle or their unhealthy lifestyle is. And they're the ones that are going to get on you about not drinking. They're the ones that are going to be like, oh, Matt, come on, you could have one bite. You know, you could just eat this for one day. It's not going to mess up your physique. It's not that, you know, you're fine. Dude, you look good enough. You're lean enough. Like, it's whatever that they perceive as something within you that they know they can't bring themselves to do, or they basically dismiss what you're trying to do because it will make them look a certain way. And this is something that hits people flat in the face when they take on this journey because they don't see that coming. And it can be very disheartening for a lot of guys because they're like, well, shit, this is my crew. Like, I don't want to upset them. And I'm like, listen, you're going to fuck up. Like, you're going to give in, and that's fine. And it's going to happen, and you'll become more resilient over time, and we can work on that. But when it first starts, it could be even within the own family, somebody's spouse who really does not agree with what they're doing, even with testosterone, like they see it as something bad. So a lot of these things that guys have to navigate, nobody really talks them through, because who are they going to talk to if their closest circle is vehemently against what they're trying to do?
Yeah, it's so, that's so accurate. And the thing about it is too, if we want to add this caveat, and you know, I work with a pretty even group, a lot of females, a lot of men, but let's stick with the men here for a second. We're taught that not to talk to other people and not to share and not to do those things, and then it's weak. So then who are we supposed to talk to about this stuff when it's weak? And as Pedro's Koulian said, and if somebody watching this doesn't know who they are, then I don't understand. They probably don't own a business. And that's not a knock, just as business owners, we know who he is. He talked about going to therapy.
Yeah.
And that is one of the like hardest, you know, appearing guys, but he's honestly one of the realest, same as you. He's himself. He's real. And he talked about going to therapy and going to therapy. He's just like, well, I'm going to get this done, get this done. How do I take the next step in my business? I need a therapist to do that. Okay, give me the steps. And the next thing you know, he's sobbing, snotting on himself, crying like, ah! But it did allow him to move on. And not that all that to say, when you take a next step in your life, it's going to be hard. You're going to lose people, but that's what happens. And at every new level, there's a new devil. At every new level, there's a new boss. You're going to encounter new things. And that's why your circle matters so much. And, you know, when I left the alcoholic drug addict lifestyle behind me, you know, not many of those people are still here. I still care about them, but they're not in my circle.
Yeah.
You know, they're not messaging me to see if I feel well, how my day's going. You know what I mean? Like, or saying, bro, do you really need to DoorDash that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very true. And Bedros has a term that resonated with me called editing your relationships, which even if you're related to somebody, you can still keep them at arm's length and have the relationship that is best for you and your health with them. So you don't have to feel obligated to see somebody or engage with somebody just because they're blood, or just because like they've been your bro for however many years. If someone's attitude, their behavior, all of that stuff is not serving your lifestyle, you have to be selfish and take action and ownership. And sometimes it involves having a very difficult conversation. And I know I've lost friends over the last few years because I just cannot make room for negativity and drama and stuff that literally wastes energy. And a lot of guys struggle with that. And like you said, guys are taught not to talk about this stuff. Guys are taught that if they cry, they're weak. If they're vulnerable, they're weak. All these things, when actually, if a man can be vulnerable and show that side of him, it actually makes him very strong and it makes him very masculine. And that allows the woman in their life to be able to show up in her feminine. I need to find my divine feminine, but when I find it, I'll be able to show up in it. But it actually empowers the people that they're around versus detracting from what they're about. And honestly, it can suck for a lot of guys because they're left, I don't want to say friendless, but then I'm like, listen, when you go to the gym, people notice. People notice what you're trying to do. People take why can't I speak? But people see the fact that you're trying to do something better for you. You'll make new friends. You'll make friends that have the same values as you, that have the same morals and principles and all of that. So when you do go on a trip and you maybe have your meals shipped, or you're doing Instacart ordering healthy stuff, or you decline alcohol, that's normal for that circle of friends. And therefore, the people that you're around don't make you feel like they're tolerating you. They actually embrace and accept you because they're the same way.
100%. And I will say that even though, exactly to reiterate your point, it's not, a lot of times they say that, and I'm going to say this message goes true for women as well. They're going to say, well, why are you doing this? You deserve this, you deserve that. It's just one time, let go, live a little. Like, in my opinion, this is living. Like, there is freedom in this. Before, like, if you have to order those things every time because everybody around you is ordering those things, that's not freedom. You're a slave to it. You're a slave to those relationships. You're a slave to that food. If you wake up, if you can't go out without having drinks, you're a slave to that. Like, I don't drink, that's my choice. If somebody else wants to, that's fine. But if somebody around, like, they're actually, I have found that the people I'm around now respect the fact that I hold fast to that instead of talking down to it.
Yeah. You will find that people are a little bit more mature about it, who understand, your reasons. Like, in my 20s and early 30s, like, I lived a half hour outside New York City. We were in New York City nightclubs every week. I don't even know how I functioned, because when I worked in a gym, I worked the Sunday shift, like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Somehow I would come home at like 7 from New York and then make it to my shift with my pupils dilated, which you guys know what that means, and work that whole time. And that was like rinse and repeat every weekend, because it was the same crew of people that I would go out with. And then, that would bleed into going to seminars and events. And it was like always the group that would go party. And I was telling this story the other day, like, a turning point in my career was at one of the NSCA events when I walked into the exhibit hall, and like the Hammer Strength crew, I think they're like, hey, it's the Jaeger Bomb girl. And I was like, I do not want to be known as that. So we're going to have to like rein in Ali's behavior. Because I was talking about Red Bull and how I just can't smell or look at Red Bull anymore. But I live that lifestyle because what people don't know about fitness professionals is we are massive extremists. A lot of people are alcoholic, like prone, and addiction prone. That's why we're all addicted to energy drinks and stimulants, because that's like our vice. But a lot of us party really, really hard, or don't at all. There's like no in between. So for me, and where I am in my career now, if I go out, I'm like, I can't function. The next day I lose a day of working and doing business. I have a crappy workout. Like, I just don't feel good. So that's why I choose not to drink anymore. And I think the last time I drank was at Silverback, because Luke made me. Yes, he made me. And I rode a mechanical bull and fought a Jedi in the street with a plastic penis. So sometimes what happens when you drink is not really the best thing. I have it on video too, so it's on my page.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Ali puts on, when it comes to men's health, the best clinic in the country, or seminar, whatever we want to call it, and it's called the Silverback Summit. I was there this past year, and it was life-changing. Luke Lehman is her coach, one of the best coaches that I've ever encountered. A man likes to get down. He was like, dude, you're coming out, you're being a pansy. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, no, I'm not. Like, but like to what you said, like, I don't have an in between. It was to give people that don't know me, my background, like, I am a recovered addict. And I mean, my last year of drinking, between drugs and alcohol, I spent $84,900 on alcohol and drugs my last year. Like, there is no in between. And that's just not okay. And it was the same. It's like, hey, this is one of the best coaches in the state of South Carolina. He also parties harder than anybody I know. Like, they don't work together very well. And that lines up with, identity. I talk about that all the time. But let's move on into letting go of something else too. You said let's move over into food, like into balance, right? Like, let's give it a little balance. What did you have the other night for dinner? 3 bowls of, and woke up leaner.
It was a mix of like rice Chex and cinnamon toast crunch, and I think it was chocolate toast crunch and maybe some Tres Leche toast crunch, or however you say it. I just felt like I needed it. I love cereal, and I have every toast crunch that they've ever made because Luke loves it, and I have it in my pantry from when he was at our house. So I have to finish it. Somebody's got to finish it. So I don't cook. I'm very open about that. I hate cooking. I can cook. Like, I can do it if I have to. I just choose not to. And I think that's useful for people who don't cook, because there's a lot of men who don't cook, or guys who maybe their wives cooked and they're recently divorced and then they're like lost. I'm like, bro, I got you. I've got the whole hit list for you for Costco on Instacart of stuff that's already prepped. I use Icon Meals for my meal prep. So they take care of that. And honestly, because I just can't be bothered. Some people find that therapeutic. I don't. I find it stressful, especially if there's more than like 2 ingredients. Like, it's just a nightmare. So I just had cereal because I was like, all right, I need some carbs. I just started training again. I was sick for like 2 weeks, and I was just like, man, my body needs it because I'm very lean. And when you're leaner, you tend to do better on higher carbs. And I texted Luke and I was like, dude, I just ate like 3 bowls of cereal. He's like, oh, so you mean you ate like the carbs that I want you to eat? And I'm like, yes. Aren't you proud of me? Like, stupid like that. But yeah, I woke up leaner, and that's cool. But I mean, I'm not eating cereal for every single meal, but there are people that like freak out, and I get it. And I understand why. And there's probably not the best ingredients in some of these cereals. And that's fine too. Like, there are cleaner cereals. I have guys that are very, very like, I just want to eat clean ingredients and nothing that's crazy processed. And that's cool. I'll suggest certain cereals to them because, quite frankly, we have guys who are eating so many carbohydrates. You can only eat so much white rice, so much creamer rice. So you have to get it from somewhere, and cereal's actually really easy. The desire
It's really easy
to cook
to consume.
my divine feminine. That's amazing. Yes, Will,
Oh,
I agree with you.
he's a great guy. You would like him a lot. I do cereal too. Mine is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And no, it's not clean. But just to sidetrack ourselves, I hate that freaking term.
Me too.
Like, what does it mean? It's so vague and ambiguous. If you take 10 people, you're going to get like 7 definitions. Like,
yeah, it's, I understand why people use it because it's similar to people saying they want to look toned. And I think that the fitness industry demonizes the word toned, but the public resonates with it. Like, if a guy says to me, I want to look toned, it's funny, but like I understand what he's talking about. So I can at least speak his language and be relatable. I don't agree with like the fitness pros that are like, oh, you're going to put Windex on your food. Like, you don't want to make people feel stupid for trying to communicate what they want from coaching. That's probably the worst thing that you can do. So clean, even though it's like this very broad term, but yes, if something has ingredients that you can't pronounce, that's perceived as not clean. I would not say cereal is a good way to get in your carbohydrates on a daily basis of multiple meals, but I'm somebody who drinks energy drinks. I don't mind artificial sweeteners. I am not anal with what I eat because honestly, I know that the conventional food industry is crap in America, but you know what? There's only so much that we can do. So just because a food, a meat says grass fed doesn't really mean anything in America unless you know the farmer and you know exactly what happened with the cow. You're just paying more for something that is a marketing ploy. Whereas if it's like grass fed, grass finished, and all that stuff. So again, to circle back. So yes, whole foods, meaning like real things, are a great way to get your food in. So don't think that you have to give up everything because people think chicken, broccoli, and rice is the way to go for the rest of their life. And it really isn't. I can't tell you the last time I had chicken, broccoli, and rice. I don't eat broccoli. I actually don't even really eat vegetables, which is like crazy for a lot of people. But quite honestly, a lot of people don't do well on vegetables. They don't digest them well. So I don't eat them.
What? And that's letting go of that preconceived notion of like what you're supposed to do and what you have to do, and that you have to eat like a bodybuilder to be lean. Like you can see both of our abs fairly clearly, and neither one of us eat clean. Now it's mostly whole foods, but if I want to turn a box of Honey Nut Cheerios up like this and down it, I'm going to. But I also walk around eating 450 to 500 carbs a day.
Yeah.
So it'll be okay. Like
Yeah.
it'll be all right. And to your point on the food, let's get letting go of preconceived notions. Like if it says grass fed, it's better. Better than what? In regards to what? You don't know what it's coming from. If a label says organic, if every farm within 50 miles of that farm is not organic, neither is that one.
100%. So I think it's okay to buy conventional meat. Like I'll do that. I'll buy 96.4 that is not necessarily organic, but I'll buy it online too from Piedmontese because they make just really good products, and it's actually quite economical to get it shipped to you. So I think it just creates barriers, and I've encouraged coaches to not demand that their clients only eat wild this, grass-fed this, massaged and meat that's been through like red light therapy. Like, yo, don't create these barriers for your clients. Just go get protein. People don't know what that is. Like they think Nutella is healthy nut butter, and it's not, but you could have Nutella still. So, the dogmatic approach does not work very well. And we've seen that over time because the one approach that has lasted through the end of time is eating real foods. So that's great. However you want to get your carbs, however you want to get your protein, fat, have at it.
100%. And that is one of the issues. I'm a big believer in balance and not creating barriers. Like if you're telling everybody that this is poison and this is toxic and this is going to kill them, I'm of the belief and mindset the person saying that is actually the toxic one themselves. Because like why would people, if they can't afford it, most people can't afford to eat that way. So now they're just going to say, well, screw it. I can't afford it, so why should I care at all? If it's all going to kill me, who cares? And it really is a balance. We hear that term all the time. That's not optimal. Well, optimal for whom? In what regard? And I love my dadgum analogies. Like socialism and communism are the perfect governments on paper, but they disregard human nature, so they're not optimal for us. And in that moment, Cinnamon Toast Crunch was optimal for you. So good for you, right? Like, also, did you try the gingerbread crunch that came out this Christmas? Did you see that?
I did. I have that. It was okay. I like the
Okay.
sugar cookie. The sugar cookie that was legit.
I didn't try it, and I'm very mad at myself.
It's really good.
Like, it really.
I don't care what people think. I will eat my cinnamon toast crunch. It's funny because like you learn really quick how you could turn people off by being exceptionally dogmatic, similar to being healthy, but it's understanding why you're turning somebody off. So being healthy and just living the way that you want to live is going to be this internal battle for others who have that insecurity of not being able to flip that switch. But I remember when I was in 7th grade, I gave up soda. I was that weirdo that got into like fitness and stuff really early. So in 7th grade, I gave up soda because I realized it was very unhealthy. And so in the cafeteria with all my friends at lunch, they're drinking Snapple, they're drinking like sugar, Capri Sun or whatever. And I was like, this is bad for you. That's bad for you. That's bad for you. And I'm like, wow. And I look back on that, like, what a dick. But I'm like 11, right? So I'm like, telling people what they should and shouldn't have. And my friends started getting really upset at me. And I'm like, I don't understand why they're so upset. I'm trying to watch out for them. I'm telling them that this is bad for them. And then obviously I didn't realize it at the time. But now as an adult, like you reflect back, like, okay, people don't like that because they choose the way they choose because they want. And the adult version of that story would be like going to Disney World and seeing how people behave and what they're eating and how they really don't care. Is that my position to get angry? No, because they're doing what makes them happy. Even if that's not going to lead them down a healthy life, it isn't until they ask me for help that is it my place to actually step in and bring that to their attention.
That was perfectly said. Like, so perfectly said. Like, it's not our business. Like, if you want to ask me, great, I'll help. And if you don't want to take my advice, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I have clients all the time that don't take my advice. They then
Yeah.
turn around and get mad at me. They're not getting the results they want, but I mean, I can't make you do anything. I'm not Luke Lehman.
Yeah. When you sign up with him, you have no choice. But honestly, it was, I think, 3 p.m. We went out. I had not eaten anything all week. And that Tito's vodka hit me hard. Yeah. It was a good time. Listen, it was worth it.
Oh God.
I had a blast. It was with people that I would never hang out with any random weekend because it was people from Australia, like, all walks of life. Like our Silverback community is just such a fun community of people that I was just like, I don't care. Like, did I need to drink? No, it provided a lot of entertainment for people around me, and I'm happy to provide that. I don't mind. I don't mind being self-deprecating. I don't mind making fun of myself, being that person. Like, I didn't have my wallet on me and they're carding at every single bar. And I like just looked at the bouncer. I'm like, bro, I'm 42 and I have abs. And I would lift up my shirt. And he just didn't know what to say. So that he just let me in. Because I was like, I can't, I have no wallet. I have no ID, but I have abs.
What do you want from me?
Yeah.
I really want to, I expected this to go more sideways than it is, and we're really behaving. So nobody's actually getting a true depiction of our personalities right now. Because we've yet to talk about wieners or have a dad joke. And so this is very strange. But I want to go back to something you said. Once you started letting go of what those people and their opinions when it came to your health, your fitness, your decisions, your business, all of those, how freeing was that? And how did that serve you going forward? Like, how did that help you?
I think a lot of that stems from caring what people think of you, which I still struggle with because I want everybody to like me and I don't want to be the reason that somebody is angry. I don't want to be the reason they're sad or whatever. But I also have to watch out for myself and protect myself because I only have so much energy during the day. And the priority to that energy is given to my family and my clients and my workouts, and anything that's left over, I got to be careful with, and I'm the first person to where if a friend texts me something, I don't text them back. I will call them if they're struggling. Like, I will drop everything. Absolutely. And I think that when you realize that there are people that are sucking that from you, and I don't want to say it's not being reciprocated, because I don't feel I do things in anticipation of people giving me anything back, but it's almost a way where people will take advantage of your kindness and your energy, and they don't realize it. And that's okay if they don't realize it, but you have to protect yourself, and maybe just having them at arm's length is the way that you have to operate for a while. Have the difficult conversation with them, and if they can't handle that, their reaction is not your responsibility. And frankly, it's still something I struggle with, and I've actually leaned into very hard the last year, because as a business owner and now having a team, I have to have difficult conversations, and I'm not the person to tell somebody who I'm friends with what I'm upset with in a way that's not like, so, and now I have to just be very direct with it. But you find that the more honest you are, the quicker you are, versus letting it marinate only creates resentment, and then it creates more anger, kind of like staying in a relationship you're not happy in. The longer you do that, the longer you don't confront what is bothering you, then the more that's going to snowball, and then you're just going to explode if they like drop a napkin on the floor or something. So you don't want it to get to that point. So it's very liberating once you can make that cutoff, and then all of a sudden you realize you have the support of so many different people. And a lot of that I realized too, like my first experience being heavily trolled last year. Because when you post to your followers, it's usually people who like what you post about and they're supportive. But when you're put on platforms that are completely exposing you to a whole different audience who know nothing about you, and they attack you for what you look like and what you're saying without really knowing you, it's a whole different experience of like bullying. And the support that literally flooded in from all my friends and my current followers. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm not so much of like a loser. It does make you feel good. And then it's a little bit easier to see who you let in your life and who you can let go of and still be okay, even though you may feel isolated because you work from home and you're on your own. All that stuff, you're going to be okay. That was like the long tangent answer. So sorry.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. Like you hit a bunch of bullet points and they all answered it in a different way. So I'm freaking here for it. I don't want to take up, way too much of your time. I know you're juggling a lot of things. I'm juggling one or two. And I keep dropping the ball. Like, I don't know what that's about. I did have a request to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite client?
Oh my God.
You don't have to answer that.
I'm not going to.
You could probably guess who asked me that too.
I don't know.
All right.
But you have to say.
Well, he and I are going to be going live next month. So Chad asked me that.
Obviously.
But Marie's tuned in, so I feel like you kind of have to say her name since she's watching.
I know. I was like, who's on here? So what I will say about Chad is funny, because if you look at him and his physical presence, he's got tattoos, he's jacked, he's got a faux hawk, all that stuff. He can be a very intimidating person. And I think on the outside, a lot of people are like, what's his deal? Anybody who gets to know him is like, holy shit, he is the most humble, genuine, kind individual, and literally cannot be more supportive of me and my business, and even my husband, who's a physical therapist. Like, he's just constantly sharing all our stuff. He's, comes to any event. Like, he's great. And, we've been together about 3 years now. So it's been a great relationship, but basically he's great because he's also like my avatar for a lot of clients that are like, I want to look like him. Which is great, but then it's also tough because it's like, you can't change somebody's DNA and structure and all that stuff, but he does live the lifestyle. And he literally, we've been in an Airbnb together. Like, I see how he meal preps. I see what he packs. Like, you know, him, me, Jim, and Ed were staying together at Luke's course. And like, you know, we all brought our own food, Instacart, like everything we were talking about earlier about how that's all normal. You know, he puts almond milk in breast milk cups and I think, or something in breast milk cups. Like, it's hilarious, but he's great.
You know, he's amazing. And I will say that, like, he and I had just had some incredible conversations there. We've stayed in touch. I was intentional. I was like, I like this person. I like his vibe. I like what he does. Hopefully I can support him in some way. But it is funny about those preconceived notions, right? Like, somebody will see me in the gym with my hat down, my headphones on, like, just like with RDF instead of RBF. And they'll go to ask me a question. I'm like, oh my God, what's been the biggest blessing in your life this week? And they're like, I did not see that coming at all. Like, what was that? Like, and I'm like, yeah, like, do you want to grab lunch? Maybe we can pray together. Like, we can high five. Like, what do you want to do? Like, like, you don't want to, like, you want to go, like, help homeless people? People are like, what is going on right now? You know? So, but with that being said, that's a great last point. I want to look like Chad. I want to look like Ali. I want to look like this person. But there's so many determining factors: genetics, how long you've been doing it, but it's one that I want to keep in on too, or primarily. The last letting go that I did not have planned. Letting go of a preconceived notion of what you think you should look at like, but not be willing to do what it takes to get there. A lot of times clients will say, well, this is what I want, but are you willing to do what it takes?
That's where expectation management needs to be heavily emphasized. And I know Aram's big on this too, and he works also mostly with women. But so when a guy comes to me with that statement, I want to look like Chad, I explain to them exactly what we did, where he came from, what he's been through, what he does in his lifestyle that brings him to look like that. Because I think that people like the idea of looking a certain way, but when it comes to what you have to do to get there is almost overwhelming. And I blame like social media and media because everyone's like, you know, intuitive eating and anti-diet or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, I intuitively want to eat donuts every day, but it doesn't mean I do. So you have to be realistic. Like, if you want to get dick skin lean, like, there's things that you have to give up and sacrifice, but that doesn't mean forever, because when you get to a level of lean that is maintainable. So like for me right now, it is very easy for me to maintain my abs year round and eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch because I did the work to get to where I am. It sucked. I actually had to gain weight before I was able to lose weight, build muscle. I am in year 7 now with Luke. It has taken a very long time. If somebody told me, hey, it's going to take you 7 years, and I'm like, I would never expect that, because we all expect it a lot quicker. And according to the internet, I am on every steroid that you can imagine, and I'm on male dosage of TRT. Funny enough, I've actually been off testosterone for almost 8 weeks, just because I got to a point where Dr. Serrano and I are like, I'm like, dude, I forget to inject half the time and I feel fine. And he's like, yeah, I think you're good. Like, your blood works great, you know, but you would if I like did a video of like, I've been off testosterone, people would come at me, well, that means you're on this and this and this and this. And it's like, you can't win no matter what. So it's like, what do you want to look like? Do you want to do the work to get there? Awesome. And if you don't, that's fine, but just don't get angry if you don't look a certain way. And I'll say also, don't feel you have to look a certain way to appease certain people, because that went through my mind as well last year when I was literally bombarded on the internet of being so muscular. I'm like, do people know me? Like, when I meet people in real life, they're like, I don't want to offend you, but you're really tiny. And I'm like, no, that's not offensive. Like, I love that. But people think I'm this ginormous, like, bodybuilder because of camera angles and how I look on camera. the leaner you are, like the bigger you can look in photos and on video and stuff. And I literally for half a second was like, do I have to downsize? And I was like, no, that's like appeasing the internet. I like how I look. I don't care. Like if little boys are triggered over the fact that I do pull-ups with more weight than them and have more muscles in them, that is their problem. It's not mine, because I like how I look. Like I love training the way I do, and I love having abs. Like that's my thing. I'm willing to do what it takes to maintain that. So I think it's being honest with somebody over what it takes to actually get there, because it's always going to be longer than somebody realizes, and the work that you actually have to put in. And that might involve the scale not dropping for a very long time. It just may stay where it is. But there's so many variables that go into that. And people obsess on like body fat and numbers. And I'm like, yo, my highly scientific way of determining your body fat is called the eye test. And I just look at what your body comp looks like. Because I can look at a man and decide, okay, we need to go this direction or this direction. I don't need a DEXA scan to tell me this. I don't need an in-body every week to tell me this. And quite frankly, that can drive you crazy if you're doing it that often. So that's my spiel.
Perfect answer. It's people really don't realize how long it takes.
No.
At all. They don't realize the effort. They don't realize the consistency that's necessary. Aram talks about that a lot. I do too. Are you really being consistent? Like, are you really giving it what you think you're giving it? Just had the conversation this morning, with a female. Well, I don't want to get bulky. You're not. Like, you're not. Like, you don't have any idea how much food you have to eat, and how long this takes. And for most people, saying, I don't want to get too lean or I don't want to get too big is like driving an electric Kia Soul and saying, I don't want to be Mario Andretti. Like, you don't need to worry about it. You're fine.
Yeah.
Like,
people will say that to other people. They'll say, don't get too lean. Don't get too big. Why? Because it's going to piss you off that you can't do it.
And it's, they don't realize it. Like, we were discussing one day back and forth, like my walk around at like, what is it? Right around 4,000 calories a day, 500 carbs, and this abs pop like at about 10%. That's my maintenance. That takes a long time to get there. Like you're not, and the thing is, people, same concept. People think I'm like 215, like 220. No, I'm like 207.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it dry. Literally just before we hopped on, I was commenting on one of my Mark Bell reels from last year that still people feel the need to give their opinion. That this guy said, there's no way a woman like me can put on the amount of muscle I have without a high level of steroids. And even he cannot add that much muscle. And I said, bro, I weigh 125 pounds. So if you can't weigh 125 pounds, like, it just blows my mind. I'm like, the camera angle, like literally that video, the camera makes me look massive. You've met me in person. I do not look massive. I wear an extra small. Like, where is this coming from? Like, literally,
you're like this big. Like, you're like, seriously.
Yeah, 5'3". Like, it's crazy. Like, and I'm like 57 kilos, so that's like 125 pounds. This is the leanest that I was at Silverback. Like, so it's the same thing. And like, people think that I weigh like, 150 or 140 or whatever, just because of the amount of muscle that I carry, that on camera looks a lot bigger. That's why when people are going through a bulk and then they diet, they actually look bigger. That's why bodybuilders, if you've ever met a bodybuilder off stage, who you've seen on stage, who looks massive, and then you meet them and you're like, oh, they're like compact and small. That's the look I want, compact. Luke doesn't really understand that term, and it's funny because he like makes fun of me, because I just tell him, I'm like, I just want to be compact. I don't want to gain any more weight. Like, I'm good. I'm happy with my physique. He's like, what the fuck does compact mean? I'm like dense. Like, I want to look dense and like hard and dry and, meathead terms. Anyway, but point is, however you want to look, we can pave that path. Doesn't mean you're going to look like somebody else exactly. There's a lot that goes into play, but are you willing to do the work? Because I have guys that are like, I don't want a six pack. I want like some abs to show. Cool. Different path than it is if you want a six pack or eight pack or whatever.
100%. Like for me personally, I'm good walking around between 10 to 12% all year. Like 12% in the winter, 10% in the summer. Like that's more than lean enough in my opinion. Like,
And
and it
very
takes
healthy.
very little effort. It takes
Yeah.
very little effort because once I got there, I'm good and I can coast. And if I want to go deep throw the stuffed crust pizza on Friday night, I'm going to wake up and my abs are still going to be there on Saturday, or at least Sunday after I get all the salt out of my system. Whatever. But like, it's I love everything that you just said. I know we need to wrap up. What is for men? We're going to keep this one tailored that direction. If what would you tell a man? Because we hear this all the time. All right, I want to get shredded, but I want to get jacked at the same time. I'm going to leave it right there. That's our last final letting go. What would you tell them?
I would ask what that means to them, and I would ask them to show me a photo of somebody that exemplifies this, simply because what I just described, that can mean a 4-pack or it can mean bodybuilder. I need to understand the direction. And then I'll talk them through the life cycle of the guy, which is usually cut calories really low, get leaner. They will have abs, but then they'll feel small and skinny fat, and then they'll go into like an emergency bulk, and then they'll gain too much body fat. So then they'll have to cut calories again and then end up in the same place, and they don't actually give themselves enough time to put on muscle. So it's a discussion of, are you willing to put in at least a year of work to look the way you want? And obviously it's contextual depending on where they're started. If they have a ton of body fat to lose, we have to get that off first. If they don't, we need to spend time eating a little bit more, but it doesn't have to be this excessive surplus that they read about. You can actually even gain muscle in a deficit, God forbid, but you can actually eat a little more and then improve over time and look a certain way, but it's going to take longer than a month.
It's going to take longer than a month. I think that's the same reason everybody I talk to, if I told you this would take at least a year, would you still start?
Yeah. I'm on year 7, like, and now I'm cruising, and I'm going to try to retain as much muscle as I can, because as we get older, we need more of it.
I have to ask you this. I know you're super busy. Are you going to be at the Real Coaches Summit in like a week or two?
No, I'm not. I'm going to Antigua next week, actually. And then I am going to LA 2 weeks later. So I've got some other projects that I can't talk about yet. It sounds so elitist, but I can't talk about them yet until I have permission. But that's what I'm working on. So I told her, but I wish I would be able to see everybody, but unfortunately, right now I can't.
It happens. Are you going to see Mike O'Hearn? Are you going to see Bedros while you're there?
I plan on catching up with Mike and a few others, and then I'm going to go snowboarding up in Mammoth. But I'm actually going to be on the Trend's Parent podcast. Trend doesn't mean I'm on Trend, but going to do that in LA with Niall Nega, and then hit up Mammoth with Joel Coleman and Rachel Cosgrove, and then come home. Yeah.
Mammoth is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I don't ski, but I can just sit at mountains next to a fire and be a happy little kid.
I'm gonna bring my
Ali,
snowboard in for tuning this afternoon. I'm like, shit, I haven't snowboarded in like 2 years. I'll be all right.
You'll be all right. Take your Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's great post skiing fuel. So when was the last time you did an entire hour with somebody and didn't really talk about TRT?
It's been a while. Thank you for that.
Yeah. You just, for those of you that don't know her, when you go to look at her stuff, she is affectionately named the Boner Queen. I love her to death. She talks about it a lot, but she's got so dadgum much to offer. Not only is just a great human being, but just different perspectives as a coach. That's not all she does. And I'm really thankful for you giving us the chance to get some insight into that, get to know you, your affliction towards cereal, your desire to be compact, whatever that means. And I could just keep this going. But again, Ali, I look forward to seeing you again, my friend. Silverback Summit tickets released for this next year's summit. When? I know you did a story about it yesterday, but I'm putting you on the spot.
I think the end of this week.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody, that'll be on my story when she releases it. Do yourself a favor and go. It's one of the best summits I've ever been to. There's incredible people there, and I've made some incredible connections like Aram, like Jimmy Nutrition. Already knew Jeb Stewart Johnson, just Chad. You will meet people that will push you, that will be honest with you. And I'm a fairly intelligent individual. I've studied advanced microbiology, and my ears bled because I felt like the dumbest person in the room at that place. So it's a good thing.
You're
Ali,
awesome.
I will talk to you soon, my friend, and next time I'll have a pink shirt on.
Thank you, Matt. Bye, everybody.